From atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West, you are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, no doubt, continues now. This is the broadcast for July 17th in the year of our Lord 2025. This is hour 2 at 2. We're promoting God, family, country. We're protecting life, liberty, and property. Doing so on your radio in the traditions of our founding fathers. As you know, we reject revolution unless it's a Jesus revolution. Then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. In actuality, the restoration of the Constitution is our solution. And the checks and balances brilliantly put in place by the founding fathers, that's the way we get it done peacefully, folks. We the people just need to be educated and demand appropriate change. Now, I mentioned to you that I think Donald Trump is going to become the war president, and I pray that he doesn't, okay? But I think he already is. You say, what, Sam? Yeah, I think Trump already is. I don't even know how to respond to all this of what Trump is doing. And I don't think most people realize this. Right? I don't know if the people realize it. I don't know if Trump realizes it. But Trump is already becoming the war president. Listen to this detail. Trump has ordered nearly as many, quote, airstrikes as Biden in much less time, is my headline. Donald Trump entered his current term in the White House touting his ambitions to be a, quote, peacemaker president, pledging an end to America's often drawn-out conflicts that seem to never end, right? Yet within Donald Trump's first 6 months of his second term, The Independent reports that Trump and his administration has launched at least 529 airstrikes across Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia, nearly matching the 555, listen, recorded during President Biden's 4-year administration, folks. So Trump in 6 months has already almost matched former President Biden's entire 4-year tenure. That's according to data from what's called the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data. It's called ACLED, nonprofit group. Think about that for a minute. I don't even know how to respond to this, right? They say the U.S. military is hitting faster or moving faster, hitting harder, and doing so with fewer constraints. Yeah, strikes are now starting to become a first, not a last resort. That's the ACLED's president. I don't know how to say these names. Clenadad Raleigh says. R-A-L-E-I-E-G-H. Raleigh says. Most of the recent airstrikes have targeted, listen, Iran's-backed Houthi militants in Yemen, aiming to protect shipping in the Red Sea following the escalation of Israel's war in Gaza. So let me get this right. We are performing strikes on behalf of Israel's war to protect shipping. And Trump has literally performed as many strikes in 6 months as Joe Biden did in 4 years. And we want Trump to enter his current term in the White House touting his ambitions to be a, quote, peacemaker president. How does that work? The Trump administration carried out 474 strikes in Yemen between March and May, outspacing Biden's tenure compared to a full year of strikes. So we're getting done in months what Biden did in years. We're getting done. It's I don't even know how to fathom this. And we're calling Trump the peace president. Watchdog groups are now reporting. They call it, the watchdog group is called Airwars. And they're reporting that at least 224 civilian deaths in Yemen are attributed to Trump's campaign, nearly matching 2 decades of prior U.S. operations. So we're seeing death, destruction, strikes at an unprecedented rate under Donald Trump. And what I find strange about that is if I bring this up, then I'm the bad guy. Oh, how dare you attack Trump? How dare you overlook his incredible accomplishments? How dare you speak out about this? Folks, I love Donald Trump and I appreciate a lot of the good that he's done. And whenever I find good that he's done, I try to highlight it and give credit. Hey, inflation's in check. Tariffs are the right way to go. The border is doing great. We've really shut down the illegal immigration at the border. There's a lot of things Trump gets credit for. Passing continued tax relief. It's not enough, but it's an incredible start. Hey, at least Doge is working on cutting $9 billion. It's not near enough, but it's a good start. Okay, I support a lot of what Trump's doing. He put a lot of things in place. He's reducing government expenditures. He's letting go of the education department. Just hope Congress will back him and he can really get it done. I pray that he can get it done. Trump now is suggesting the U.S. should take Gaza and make it a freedom zone. Do you agree with that for 1 second? Trump suggests U.S. should take Gaza and make it a freedom zone? I don't even know how to respond to this. Brett Samuels wrote the piece. President Trump on Thursday, so just this morning, just a few minutes ago, suggested the U.S. would look to take control of the Gaza Strip and turn it into a freedom zone, highlighting one of his more controversial foreign policies. He said this during a visit to Qatar. I have concepts for Gaza that I think are very good. Call it a freedom zone. Yeah. Now, I don't know how to respond to this, but where does Trump get the authority for that? Now, the president claimed there was a ceasefire in place, or a ceasefire agreement in place. They're still debating the ceasefire a month after Donald said he already had a ceasefire in place? What's going on? Is it in place or not? Ladies and gentlemen, I ask the average American, do we have a ceasefire in place? I don't think anybody knows. I don't know where to go with this thing. This is so egregious to me. I don't even know really how to respond to it. Where would we get authority to take Gaza? Where would we even think that would be like a remote idea? Are we going to take Canada too? Are we going to take Greenland too? Are we just going to decide we're going to take over everything and everybody all the time? Right? I mean, what is going on here? Now, where do I get this? Donald Trump is proposing that? TheHill.com. Trump suggests U.S. take Gaza, make it a freedom zone, the Hill. Now, a lot of people have said, Sam, you're using the word war criminal way too loosely, my friend. How dare you? If Trump takes Gaza, Would that be a war criminal action? Just kind of wondering. If watchdog group Airwars reports at least 220 civilian deaths are attributed to Donald Trump's strikes, and they're innocent civilians, would he be a war criminal for conducting those strikes? Has Trump had congressional approval for the last 6 months of over 500 strikes? Has he had constitutional approval for that? Are we in a war? Oh, no, that's Israel's war. It's not our war, right?
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
So I know we're working on a ceasefire. I'm not defending the folks in Iran. I think they're bad guys. But I also think Israel, bad guys. The New York Times wrote an article, says why Israel attacked Syria. So this is the New York Times, right? And they want to basically tell me, hey, this is why. Why Israel attacked. Handshakes or airstrikes? What does Israel want in Syria? For weeks, Israel has been engaged in back-channel talks, working on an agreement with the Syrian government. But its strikes on Damascus this week highlight a lack of strategic clarity. Now, I'm not here to defend the New York Times, but they say an Israeli airstrike damaged the entrance to Syria's defense ministry headquarters on Wednesday. So let me get this right. Donald Trump says, I want to sit down and be the peace talk guy. Okay? I'm going to sit down with Russia, the Ukraine. I'm going to sit down with Israel, Hamas, Iran, everybody. And, I'm the peace guy. But Donald Trump has committed over 50 or 500 strikes in the last 6 months. Israel says we got a back channel. We're negotiating. But for weeks, I would say for months, I would say for years, I would say for decades, I would say for centuries, Israel and Syria or whoever have engaged in, quote, secret back channel talks, seeking for a diplomatic answer over territory captured by Israel from Syria during the Israeli war back in 1967. So we're debating about what happened in 67. Oh, yeah, that's when Israel decided to bomb our USS Liberty, right? The Israeli news media has been awash with optimistic predictions of a, quote, limited non-aggression act, or pact, if you will, or even a landmark PCO agreement, or a peace deal, between the Jewish state and the former jihadists. But Israel's blazing strikes this week's on Syrian government. Wait a minute, didn't Donald say a month ago that he had a ceasefire going on? Now, Israel, they say, still traumatized by the surprise of Hamas's attack back in October 2023. But here's the problem. I get that, hey, Israel shouldn't have been attacked. But at what point do we say Israel's responses over and over are certainly continuing this, not stopping it? It seems very, quote, discordant, said this Iranian historian of Syria. The guy's name is Adamar Lananchovich or something like this. These strikes run against the effort to negotiate. The strikes reflect Israel's post-2023 military doctrine, which combines a very strange mixture of paranoia following October the 7th, and hey, they're using force now rather than diplomacy. The specifics for actions by Israel this week was the Syrians' government deployment of forces to southwest Syria. Anyway, scores of Israeli strikes last winter. Years of civil war. Now, I don't know why we're there. I don't know why Trump is helping with this. Right? And the problem is no one even knows how to deal with this. Trump said he got a ceasefire done. He didn't. It was a big old announcement about nothing. Now, didn't Donald say he could get the, Russia, Ukraine, or whatever war stopped in a day or something like that? What was that? Trump said he could, right? He said in a day he could stop it or whatever. What was on the campaign trail? But now Russia tightens its stranglehold on Ukraine battlefield as Trump gives Putin 50-day window, writes CNN. Now, Trump says, I'm not picking sides. I'm on humanity's side. I appreciate that, President Trump, but if you're on humanity's side, why are you taking Ukraine's side? You say, well, I'm not taking sides. I'm just taking humanity's side. And my response is, oh, yeah? You really think that's true, huh? Because I don't. Evidence shows that's not true. Right? Think about this for a minute, folks. Trump, as far as I can tell, literally talked to the Ukrainian leader on a phone call and basically said, hey, do you think we ought to launch serious missiles right into Russia? Yeah, President Donald Trump reportedly suggested to the Ukrainian president, what's this guy's name? Volodymyr Zelensky, I don't know how to say his first name, during a, quote, July 4th conversation. So literally on, July the 4th, that Ukraine could strike deep within Russia, including Moscow and St. Petersburg. The Financial Times reported this conversation, stating that Trump questioned Zelensky on the possibility of such strikes if the U.S. supplied the long-range weapons. The U.S. have recently approved sending what they call offensive weapons to Ukraine through NATO, warning Russian President Vladimir Putin of severe tariffs and sanctions if a deal wasn't worked out within 50 days. During the call, Zelensky expressed readiness to target these cities if he was provided with the necessary arms by Donald. This discussion led to a subsequent meeting focusing on the specific long-range missiles that could be provided. In response to the situation, a bipartisan effort in Congress is considering significant tariffs on countries trading in Russian energy and minerals. Meanwhile, despite Western pressure, the Kremlin sources claim that Russia can withstand any sanctions that Trump might put in place. Now, I don't know how to respond to this because we're told that Trump is the peace president. We're told that he's backing off. We're told that he's trying to sit down with these leaders and put together a peace accord, put together the art of the deal, put together a solution. But how do you put together a solution when you're literally arming the Ukrainians and you're literally having talks with the Ukrainian president to say, hey, let's get you some offensive weapons. Let's see if we can't help you hit targets well into Russian territory. And then Trump says it's not our war. But yet we're training and funding and arming enemies. So much so that Trump has committed over 500 strikes. You say, well, Sam, wait a minute. That's Iran, right? Yeah. But while we're, committing strikes against Iran, while we're committing, helping Zelensky and Ukraine consider going deep into Russia, we are pretending peace or feigning peace while absolutely ratcheting up war like nobody's business. And because the media doesn't have the guts to speak out about this, really, then people don't really know about it. But Trump has ordered nearly as many airstrikes in much, much less time, about the same in 6 months as Biden did in 4 years. The U.S. military is moving faster, hitting harder, and doing so with further or less restraints. Most of the recent airstrikes have attacked Iran-backed militants. But the Trump administration literally has created 220 civilian deaths. That's basically matching 2 decades of former U.S. operations. So I don't even know how to respond to this from Trump. Now, they say Trump gifts Putin 50-day window. Now we act like Trump is literally giving a gift to Vladimir Putin. That's the way CNN writes it. You see, when I say the media won't tell you the truth, the CNN, the people that are supposed to hate Trump like nobody's business, now they're carrying the ball for Donald, going, yeah, Donald's giving Vladimir Putin a gift of 50 days. He's being the nice guy. He's being the patient, diplomatic negotiator. It isn't true, folks. On July 4th, he literally was talking about helping Ukraine launch offensive missiles straight into the heart of Russia. But hey, Vladimir Putin won't sit down and be reasonable, right? Oh my heavens. We better get a clue and fast. We better stop President Trump or he will become the wartime president. Hang on, I'm Sam Bushman. Liberty Roundtable Live continues.
Protecting your liberties. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Wall Street is taking the high road this morning. The benchmarks are positive following the latest dose of encouraging economic news.
The Commerce Department reports retail sales rose a better than expected 0.6% in June, almost recovering the 0.9% dip from May. Increases were seen across categories, including clothing and retail, health and personal care, restaurants, online retailers, and automobile and automotive parts dealers. The weak points were electronics, appliance retailers, and department stores, which posted declines. The overall assessment is that U.S. consumers remain confident in the economy. George Williams, Washington.
Also, the number of Americans filing for unemployment has dropped to a 3-month low. In a razor-thin vote, very early this morning, the Senate approved President Trump's request to cancel roughly $9 billion in foreign aid and funding for public broadcasting. 51-48 vote followed 12 hours of voting on amendments. The bill now goes to the House, which, if it's going to, must approve the bill by a deadline tomorrow. Like father, like daughter.
The Justice Department has fired Maureen Comey, a federal prosecutor who worked on the cases against Jeffrey Epstein and Sean Diddy Combs. She's also the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, who was fired by President Trump during his first term. 3 people familiar with the matter told the Associated Press on Wednesday. One of those sources said no specific reason was given for why she was terminated.
Correspondent Marcela Sanchez. The mall in eastern Iraq had just opened its doors recently. Now there's been a deadly fire at that shopping venue. At least 60 people were killed. On Wall Street, stocks are higher this morning. The Dow is up about 73 points. The Nasdaq trading 119 points higher. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind, to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my 2 sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-226-5454. That's 800-226-5454. 800-226-5454.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Bypass the mainstream narrative with Liberty News Radio at libertynewsradio.com. Engage with charismatic hosts live or on demand. We cover the crucial news focused on God, family, and country. News that other networks simply refuse to use. Think of LNR's hard-hitting news and podcasts at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere. Join us at libertynewsradio.com. Empower your day with the truth, because the truth will set you free. libertynewsradio.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know how to respond to half this news that's going on. Some of it is just so egregious, I don't even want to talk about it. Good news is illegal border crossings reached record lows in the U.S. following the implementation of Trump's stringent border patrol policies. I'm happy about that. Trump announces he's working on a mass amnesty plan. I pray he doesn't, but I agree that we need to deal with the issue seriously. If we're not careful, we're going to have all kinds of illegals voting, tipping the scales and manipulating the representation across the several states of how many representatives each state gets. They say major retailers have been accused of using Trump's tariffs as a way to make more money and fleece everybody. I don't really find that to be true. I know they're saying that, but I don't find it to be true. The White House saying core inflation remains stable. I'm happy about that. The Doge cut package is good news. It's not enough, but it's good news. Trump calls for the prosecution of Adam Schiff over this alleged mortgage fraud thing. I think Trump's making a mountain out of a molehill for that. I did a video explaining why I think that. Keep an eye out for that. The Supreme Court allows Trump to fire 1,400 employees for the Department of Education. Will we really see an education department at the federal level shut down? Linda McMahon, U.S. Secretary of Education, supports it. I support it. But I haven't seen Congress do much about it, right? That's the problem. That's the problem. I really don't see Congress codifying the shutdown of the education department. So Congress, you better get to work, guys, or we're not going to see much on this. It's just a tragic situation. But I really pray we can shut down the education department. Boy, howdy, do we need to do that, right? All right, I got another piece of good news. You say, Sam, why are you highlighting all this good news? Because I just can't take it. I mean, the next story talks about a July 2016 conference at the MIT Media Labs, previously funded in part by Jeffrey Epstein, discussed the potential use of child-size sex robots to treat pedophiles. Now, how do you really even discuss this? Like, honestly. I mean, it's so perverted. I got to talk about it with Dr. Scott Bradley tomorrow in more detail. But the next headline says hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funds have been allocated to global organizations likely supporting the sex industry. As reported by the Center for Advanced Security in America, with reference to the president's AIDS relief plans, the U.S. has contributed approximately $385 million to entities potentially breaching domestic guidelines. So we're supposed to send money only to groups that don't promote sex and perverted sex. Turns out we've been giving a ton of money to those who are breaching the guidelines, and they're funding all kinds of sex stuff all around the world. And you go, whoa, that's right, whoa. And so I'm going to save those detailed two headline stories to discuss with Dr. Bradley tomorrow. Because, folks, why is it taking so long to get rid of the education department? Well, Sam, because Trump was held up in the courts. I don't think so. I think Trump could have gone forward with this regardless of what the courts say. They first blocked him and said they had the authority to block him. Turns out they didn't have the authority to block him. Turns out the Supreme Court backed his play to fire a bunch of folks. Backed his play to say these courts, these regional, appellate courts and everything else can't shut down the president of the United States whenever they want to. Trump could have moved forward already. right? And he should have. But where's Congress, though? What has Congress done to shut down the education department to help carry out Donald Trump's initiative? See, this is where I don't want to be distracted by the Epstein files. I don't think it's about Trump. I think it's about accountability for those who might be continuing criminal acts. However, I agree with Trump that we need to focus on his successes. And he would have a lot more successes if we would highlight the right things. And if Trump would focus on these things, why is he in calls with Zelensky saying we can help you fire missiles straight into the heart of Russia? Right? Whoa. I don't know how to respond to all that, but I want to focus on good news. And the good news is that Trump will get rid of the education department, I really believe, if Congress would jump aboard and get on it. Now, here's what'll be interesting. If Congress does really get ready to shut down the education department, will Trump really back it, do it, sign it, get it done? Or will Trump kind of pull an Epstein file on us and go, ha, psych, just kidding. How dare you try to get rid of the education department? What do you want, a bunch of ignorant rednecks around? We got to have educate. Will he go off like that? How dare you guys even think that? What makes you have a hole in your head that makes you think that right? Derelicts, stupid idiots. What the hell? Man, I don't even want your support anymore kind of garbage. Will Trump do that on the education department, or will he really go through and deliver? I don't know yet, but I know this. We need Congress to double down and do their part. That's what we need. We need them to do their part and do it right away. All right. I got to give a big old shout out to a group making a tremendous difference. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Salem Radio Network, SRN. They're the ones that we get our bottom of the hour news from. Salem Radio Network is partnering with an international nonprofit group called Relief Agency to the Poor, or Relief Agency Food for the Poor. And they're rushing emergency food kits to flood-ravaged Texas victims. I think this is tremendous. SRN talk show hosts Mike Gallagher, Chris Stigall, Hugh Hewitt, and Larry Elder are all supporting this campaign on their radio programs. Now, this to me is huge good news on a bunch of fronts. Number one, I want to throw my hat into the ring with these guys and say, I don't know what to do to support you, but I commend you for this incredible leadership. And I got a solution on the table that I want to highlight that I think is really, really important. You know, we always, whenever we have a catastrophe, a meltdown, we go to FEMA. We'll shut down unconstitutional FEMA and save money. They've proven themselves to be partisan criminals. They literally, whenever it was a Trump house, when it was the hurricanes in South Carolina and such, whenever it was a Trump house, they'd just mosey on by and skip you. You don't need help. You don't deserve help. So it was very partisan and manipulated. When are people going to invest? And pardon the pun, when are heads going to roll over that one? I digress, except to say that FEMA's proven itself incompetent and incapable. Shut it down. Now, Salem Radio Network providing some incredible leadership. And just imagine if we took our Christian duty as Americans and we said we can be self-governed, we can care for our neighbor, we can treat thy neighbor as thyself, and we don't need government to do it. We can do it on our own. We can follow Salem Radio Network's Christian leadership, and we can go ahead and absolutely make a difference. One little bit at a time, we can make a difference. We can tell the truth that we don't need government involved. We can work on following Salem Radio Network's lead. And what if big business people got involved? What if Donald Trump said, hey, my media company, Truth Social, we're going to put in millions of dollars and help Salem Radio Networks? What if we basically had premier radio networks? That's the folks that syndicate Glenn Beck and others, right? What if they jumped aboard? What if ABC, CNN, CBS, MSNBC, MSN, what if all these people put in a bunch of money? What if you had actresses and actors and, celebrities chime in? What if Taylor Swift said, I'm going to help? What if this became a set-aside partisan politics, we're going to help discussion? And what if we help the people of South Carolina? What if we help the victims of the floods in Texas? I know there's going to be some torrential rains off the coast of Florida coming up. I know there's fires that are going on. Right? I know there's disasters everywhere. What if we all got together in the private sector? And what if we saved or created such a financial money fund that we took care of the people today, but we also prepared for the future? And when a catastrophe hit, we didn't go to government. We went to this private sector-led fund that got the genesis from Salem Radio Networks. What if we did that? Hold on, I'll talk about it more. This is great stuff, people.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, by having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
Back with you live. All I can tell you is I commend the Salem Radio Network for their leadership in this. This just proves that the private sector can handle this stuff. Hey, Salem Radio is a big group. They got a lot of radio stations and a lot of great, incredible talk show hosts. They really do. And so SRN talk host Mike Gallagher, Chris Stigall, Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder, all supporting the campaign with their programs. Yeah, I mean, think about partnering with this nonprofit organization, Food for the Poor. And so you've got Food for the Poor, this nonprofit private group, doing a phenomenal job. You've got Salem Radio Networks doing a phenomenal job. Just imagine if you've got a bunch of other radio and TV, celebrities and personalities. And what if we put together so much money in a private sector fund, and if we shut down FEMA to save government money, and we took care of the people in South Carolina, we took care of the people in Texas that are suffering, and people added to it. You had celebrities. I mean, Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, on the conservative side could double down, John Rich. The liberal side, you could get T. Swift rolling. You could get a bunch of other, Sabrina Carpenter, get all these different people and have everybody donate. And what if you had such a big fund, you could take care of everybody currently, and then you had money in the kitty that was generating interest that could go ahead and self-fund. The next crisis that comes down the pike would go, hey, we need to keep raising money for it, so let's keep putting money into the kitty here. But we've got money for the next disaster, and we don't need government at all. Well, Salem Radio Network's leading the charge on this, and I commend them for their leadership. In fact, it's so exciting to me. about the solutions on the table in the private sector. I even did a video about this that'll be coming out soon at libertyroundtable.com. It'll appear on lovingliberty.net as well, I hope. So all I'm telling you is that, you know what? We're making a tremendous difference, right? But I look at this and I go, why can't this go viral? Of all the different things in the news, why isn't this going viral? Why isn't everybody on this? You know, Donald Trump's working on Coca-Cola and, hey, making Coke great again. That's good. But I think, what if Trump were to lead and shout out in his newswire and shout out publicly, hey, Salem Radio Network's doing a phenomenal job. Let's build a coalition around them. Let's support them. Let's throw down. Right? But at apnews.com, the headline says, Trump administration approves nearly $3 billion arms sale to the Ukraine. I'm sorry, to Israel. Trump administration has approved a $3 billion arms sale to Israel, passing the normal congressional review to provide the country with more 2,000-pound bombs. Yeah, the same kind that it's used in the war against Hamas in Gaza. I don't know how to respond to this kind of news. Now, I really appreciate and hope and wish that things could be different. I wish, instead of promoting war, attacking MAGA, making Coke great again, I really would hope that somehow we could follow the Prince of Peace and follow Mike Gallagher. Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder, Chris Stigall, others. Wouldn't it be great if we could do that? I don't know how to respond to this, right? Because I just feel like, man, there's so much good we could be doing. Is Trump doing a lot of good? Yes, he is. But just think if he listened to me as an advisor. I mean, Trump would be basically saying, hey, how do we help Salem Radio Networks do this in the private sector? I'm ready to shut down FEMA. Congress, are you ready to help me? They've proven themselves to be nothing but bipartisan or partisan political hacks. We can't be having that going on, so I'm going to get rid of that unconstitutional agency. Shut her down. Congress, help me so the courts can't go crazy. Right? And Trump could do that, and then he could say, but we've got a plan. I mean, I would love to work on that. And I appreciate that the Senate's going to deliver $9 billion of cuts. We're not going to pay for government radio and TV anymore. That's a good start. But it's not enough. Anyway, I don't know where to go. I just know this. We need to focus on peaceful solutions. We need to focus on good news. Because you know what? People are sick of all the negative news. That's why I want to highlight the incredible leadership from Salem Radio Networks. We are a Christian nation. There's no doubt about that. So why don't we act like a Christian nation? Why don't we take care of our brothers and sisters in Texas? Why don't we really double down and deliver solutions and right away? I mean, we could really make a difference. We could do it fast. We could do it very nimbly. We can get people on the ground from these nonprofit organizations. Just imagine if you added to it all the social, media groups. Just imagine if you said, Mark Zuckerberg, come on, buddy, help us. That's the meta guy or whatever, right? No, which is which? I can't remember which one's Alphabet Soup, which one's Meta, whatever. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook and Instagram. And hey, why don't you participate with Salem Radio Networks? Hey, Elon, you're the richest man in the world. Are you going to double down and throw some cash into this baby over at X? Hey, Rumble, can you throw some cash in? Hey, and what if we could get all kinds of celebrities and media groups? And then what if we added to that churches? Yeah. Hey, Catholic Church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Southern Baptists, can you guys all help with this kitty that Salem Radio Network's putting together in partnership with this nonprofit group? And then, hey, if we have extra, can we build a fund for the future? And that way we don't turn to government, the most inefficient way to take care of natural disasters. We can have local people on the ground monitoring to make sure that money's spent wisely, that it's being used appropriately. See, I don't want to be the guy that just complains. I want to be the guy that has solutions. The best way you can advocate for peace, whether it be Russia, Ukraine, whether it be Hamas / Israel, whatever it be. The best way you can do that is stop arming people, Donald. Stop arming and funding war. And stop pretending you're the peace president when you've literally created more strikes in a few months than your predecessor did in years. Okay? Start by following the Prince of Peace and using peace as the solution. Okay? J.D. Vance says rekindling statesmanship to secure America's golden future. I support it. But what does that really mean in the end of the day? It doesn't mean talk peace and promote war. It doesn't mean pretend you're sitting down with everybody with ceasefire agreements, but yet you're secretly discussing strikes way into the heart of Russia. If the United States helps Ukraine launch missiles and fund the missiles and bring the missiles to the table, and they partner and shoot Russell's missiles straight into the heart of Russia, is that an act of war? And if Donald Trump commits an act of war without congressional approval, we're not threatened. There's no emergency of any kind here. There's no justification for the president to act unilaterally ahead of Congress, like as if there was an emergency on our hands that he may have authority. So at what point do we say, hey, some of these people are bordering on becoming war criminals? Can we say they're war criminals, or is that too much hyperbole? Or when we have 220 dead civilians as a result of the most recent strikes, is that enough? What about all the innocent civilians killed by Israel? How many have they killed? 40,000 or more since October the 7th, 2023? I'm not defending Hamas. I'm just saying both sides seem to have a lot of blood on their hands, if you ask me. Both sides seem to talk peace, but don't they always say, don't pay attention to what they say, pay attention to what they do? Isn't that what we're told? Folks, we have got to make sure we understand what's happening. And then we have got to demand accountability and peace. It's imperative. But I commend Salem Radio Network for their leadership. Let's create a good, big, beautiful private fund to take care of future disasters and leave the general government out of it, shall we? It could be one of the biggest changes of Donald Trump's administration. And then, Donald, the next thing you need to do is not talk about getting rid of the IRS. Do it, buddy. Get her done. The sooner, the better. If you want to put money back in the American people's pockets, take the tyranny off their necks from the IRS. You'd be breathing freedom, baby, and you'd have money in your pocket. All of us would. It'd be incredible. All right, 2 hours in the can. I'm Sam Bushman. I'm syndicated by the Loving Liberty Radio Networks, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.